Hello. Today is the fourth day for the current week, and what we are going to discuss in today's lecture is the relationship between the weak form and the minima of some quantity. In context of solid mechanics problems, this quantity corresponds to potential energy. So, that is what we will try to understand, and that will give you some understanding as to what is actually happening to the physics of the problem as we are developing a weak form and using a weak form to solve a problem. So, we will discuss linear, bilinear and quadratic functionals. Okay. So, the aim is to explore the relationship between the weak form and the minimum of a quadratic functional. So, we will again go back to our regular example. So, this is minus d over dx a times du over dx minus q equals 0. And the boundary conditions are u at x is equal to 0 is u naught and a times du over dx at x is equal to L is equal to q naught, where the domain of the system is 0 to L. Now, we will look at this problem in context of the problem of a bar under compression or tension. So, suppose I have a bar okay, and I am applying some traction here. I am applying some traction here, and then I am specifying, I am pushing this bar such that the displacement at x is equal to 0 is u naught, okay, and also at x is equal to L. So, this is my x equals L. I am putting some force q naught. Then u is the displacement in the bar at a position x. Some position x, use the displacement. So, I am interested in finding u, how it changes between 0 to L. So, this is the thing, and also the Young's modulus of the bar is E, and let us assume, at least in context of this particular example, that A is the cross sectional area which does not change with the length. So, EA is the thing, and this equals A. Okay. So, we are going to write its weak form straight away. So, the weak form is 0 to L dw over dx du over dx A minus integral of 0 to L q w times dx minus w a for this particular problem, this is the weak form. And now, please pay attention to these things, these terms. The first term, this is symmetric in W and U. If I replace W by U and U by W, I get the same term. Also, the coefficients of W and U are 1. So, it is symmetric in W and U and also linear in W and U. So, it is bilinear and symmetric, and let us say I call it B of W and U. The second term is dependent only on W, Q is known, Q is the data of the problem, right, and it is linear in W. So, it is linear in W. Okay. So, I call it L1 of W, and in the case of the third term, this is also linear in W. So, I called it L2 of W. Okay. So, I can write this entire equation as B of W U minus L of W, where L is nothing but L1 plus L2. So, equation A and B are same, equation A and B represents this bilinear term and L represents all other things. So, of course, I have to put a 0 here. And then in the last class we had discussed that W has to be so chosen such that it represents the variation in U. So, I will rewrite this equation like this, okay. Or if I want to expand this, I can write it as 0 to L A D minus, and just think about it, x is known at x is equal to 0. At x is equal to 0, x is known, right? Huh? Sorry, x is equal to 0, u is known, yes, which means the variation of u at x equals 0 will be 0. So, that term will not exist, at least in context of this problem. So, the only term which will exist is the term associated with x is equal to L position. So, this is equal to W and A du dx. So, A du dx is L, oh sorry, at x is equal to L, A du dx is defined as Q naught from this boundary condition. Okay. So, this I have to evaluate at x is equal to L, and since we said that W is nothing but variation in U. So, I will replace W by variation in U. Now, this term I can write it as variation of the bilinear term, I can express it as this. Agreed? Also here I can move this variation operator outside the integral based on the discussion which we had 2 weeks back, that I can move, I can switch the differential operator and the integral operator excuse me, I can switch the differential and the variation operator back and forth, and for the same reason I can also switch integral operator and the variation operator back and forth. So, I can take variation out. So, this becomes q dx, and then this is variation of u times q naught at x is equal to L, and this is equal to 0. Understood? Now, A is Now we will look at term 1, first term. A is E times A. A is E times A and du over dx is the strain in the system. If I am pulling a rod, it will stretch by a little and the differential of that stretching is the strain. So, this is nothing but stress, axial stress, and the other du dx is strain. So, when I multiply, so this is my stress, this is my strain, and when I multiply stress by strain, so this is stress, this is strain, and that is my stress. When I multiply, this is a linear system, so the slope is EA. When I multiply this thing E by A, then I get basically the work done in the system, and that is it is stored in the system as potential energy. Okay, it is stored in the system as potential energy. So, this is strain energy actually. And actually this, and that is why we have this term half also, because when I compute the area of this triangle, I have to have a half there. Okay. So, this is the strain energy in the system, and not in the system, this is for per unit volume, and when I am integrating it over the whole domain, this is the strain energy in the overall bar. If I do not integrate it, then I am getting the strain energy per unit volume at that point of interest. When I am integrating it, which is over the domain 0 to L, then it is in the entire bar, This is Q times U times dx. So, Q is traction. Suppose the bar is in a collet and I am pulling it, if there is some friction or some traction, this thing will also do some work, and the work which will be done by this is, suppose Q is that tractional force and the displacement at this location is, let us say, U, then this is the work done by traction. Right? And this, the third term T3, this is T2. What is this? Q is the external force and U is the displacement at x is equal to L. So, this also represents work done by external force. Agreed? So, what this means is that at least in context of this bar problem, this entire thing, see I have put this variational symbol outside. So, what this means is that I can write the entire equation as where pi is the potential energy is the system. So, the potential energy of the system is basically the sum of T1 plus sum of T2 plus sum of the sum of T1, T2 and T3. Okay. The potential energy pi, it represents sums of T1, and T1 includes the integral, it is not just at a point, it is the integral of all the small amounts of potential energies due to strain, potential energy due to traction and due to external force, right. So, it is a total integral quantity. So, it represents the total potential energy in the system. Pi is the potential energy in the system, and I am taking its variation to be 0. Now, in differential calculus, we know that a function is at a minima or a maxima only when its first derivative is 0, right. A function is at its maxima or its minima only when its first derivative is 0, right. I mean, you have, suppose, so at this place your derivative will be 0, also at this place derivative will be 0. This variational operator, we have seen that it behaves very much similar to a differential operator. So, this also tells us that pi, this is the condition for minimum or maximum potential energy. Okay. It is an extrema, it is a condition for an extrema, and at least in context of this course we will not worry whether it is going to be a minimum or a maximum, because the problems which we will discuss will be only dealing with minimum situations. So, if we use this criteria, then that tells us, so what does this mean? That the potential energy of the system will be at its minimum when whatever variations we take. And how do we get these variations? By changing these W's by small amounts, right. So, whatever variations we take in U's, they will correspond to small changes in pi, and if those small changes are 0, then we will say that the system is in equilibrium, the system is in equilibrium. So, this is the condition. Okay. So, this is the condition for equilibrium for solid mechanics problems which are conservative in nature. Okay. So, if some heat is getting dissipated and all that, then maybe this may not be exactly true. But we have also seen that this equation is not only valid for solid mechanics problem, right, but it is valid for a big range of problems which we had seen. It is valid for cables and bars, so these belong to solid mechanics situations, but it is valid for heat transfer, laminar and all that. So, in context of solid mechanics, I can say that T1 plus T2 plus T3 represents the potential energy, but in general I cannot say that this is potential energy. So, I make a general statement that T1 plus T2 plus T3 represents some functional I, right, some functional I, and the condition for that functional to be at a minima is that its variation should be 0. Understood? I can also write this as, so if I go back and look at this equation, I can rewrite it as why is that? I first take the variation on first thing, so I will get half B this thing. How do I say that? This is equal to half B right, and because this is linear and symmetric in U, so this is nothing but B of . So, all this discussion about weak form and about this criteria for having a minima is valid only if we have B which is bilinear. It has to be bilinear. If suppose it was U square, then when we do the math it will not work out like that. Okay. So, it has to be bilinear. So, this criteria is valid only if B is bilinear and it is symmetric. There may be situations, probably not in context of this course, that B may be symmetric, but not necessarily bilinear. Then we can still get this variation of I to be 0, but not through the process which I have explained, but through some other process, which we will not discuss in this course. But in this course, we are saying that variation of I equals 0, and we show that only in context of functionals which are bilinear and symmetric functionals. They have to be both. Okay. And once again, I represents some quantity, and if its first variation is 0, then it means that I is either at its maxima or at its minima, that is at its extrema. And in context of solid mechanics conservative systems, I corresponds to the total potential energy of the system. Okay. So, this concludes the discussion for this particular class, and in the next class we will start discussing in detail about different variational formulations. Thank you.